All right, we're hitting about 174, so I think that's about time to get started. So welcome to, I think this is Lecture 9, essentially. We'll get started with the lecture in just a minute. First, the important thing. What is the biggest ant in the world? Not something that's kept me up a lot of nights, but I think it's a pretty important one to know. We hit on physics last lecture. Well, my ant, giant ant, elephant. There we go. The answer is, of course, the largest ant in the world is the elephant. And that's a good one, and that's as good as what's faster, hot, or cold, right? Anyway, let's get on with the rest of our day. I'm looking forward to October, by the way, because October I can start using Halloween jokes, and there are a lot of really exceptional Halloween jokes, one way or another. So what we want to talk about today is a little bit of housekeeping, and I think the thing on most everybody's mind is your test on Thursday. Now, we've already put up some study material. That's available in, you know what, I'll go to that in just a second. It's in the course materials section of Submittee. What we did was we put up some test questions. It's called T1 overview.pdf. It's under an exam 1 directory. We put up an exam from spring 2017. And if you look there now, there's another one that says spring 2017 underscore encrypted. We're going to talk about all of this in just a few seconds. But I do want you to be aware that we have put up a bunch of study material. This afternoon or this evening, we will be releasing selected answers today. What selected means is we have answers for pretty much all of those except the ones that you just have to cut and paste the code into a Python IDE and run it, in which case you'll get the answers. So we'll give you the answers to the other stuff today. So, the whole goal was to have you go through the overview and the study test, the last couple years ago test, and make sure that you can work through everything on your own, and then now you'll have the answers so that you can go back and check your answers and figure out the things that you couldn't understand prior. This is kind of important, so if you haven't gone through the study materials yet, I'm going to recommend that you go through them first off of the exam we're giving you in the T1 overview, so that you actually have an opportunity to work through them. Seeing somebody's answer and writing an answer are very different things. It's very easy to look at somebody's answer and understand it without being able to actually replicate that code. So, just give yourself the best chance you can on this test, and the best way to do that is to, study the material and then check your answers or check your understanding rather than relying on memorizing somebody else's answer, because we can pretty much guarantee that it won't be the same. Regarding labs, you have lab this week. It's a little bit of a fun one, I think. Of course, I think they're all fun, so that's not really telling you too much. But it's a decent lab. What we're going to get into today, or in your lab this week, is we're going to get you into how to actually debug your programs, how to recognize errors, and a little bit of how to read Submittee output so you're not so confused when you're getting output from Submittee. And we'll also go into a little bit more of how we want your code structured. So this lab kind of reinforces what we've been talking about structuring your homeworks. We haven't been very harsh on structure and comments, etc. We're not going to be very harsh on homework 2. Homework 3, we're going to start getting harsh. Just so we've been giving you mainly informational messages so that you can learn what we want you to do. Now we're going to be using roughly the same rubric. It'll get extended as you learn more things, but we will actually start counting more projects on, or more points off on just your style, etc. I didn't put this in here. I probably should have. Your homework 1 grades went live for a little bit. Unfortunately, only about half the TAs have actually finished grading. So rather than field hundreds of questions from you guys about why you don't have a grade yet and your partner or your friend does, I've removed those. We will release them as soon as the TAs have finished, and we are on the TAs to get done we do want to get you a summary of where you are. We're all set up to run our summary software. We want to give you a summary of where you are by Thursday's exam. But it does require that we get homework 1 graded and up through lab 1 graded. So we're just kind of waiting on that for a few seconds. It will go out. Hopefully it'll go out no later than tomorrow, but we're on it. We'll take care of it as we can. All right. Yeah, so the comment is, since you're not being harsh on our structure for 1 and 2, we still leave comments. So yeah, we wrote the rubric. A giant would also be a good answer to the largest ant, but it is an elephant. Giants are imaginary. Elephants actually exist. Anyway, we wrote the rubric. The reason the TAs are taking time is they're actually going through all of your homeworks and running through the rubric. So, and the reason that we're being gentle on 2 is because you didn't have the feedback before 2 was due. Otherwise, we would have started being a little bit more harsh on this one. So yeah, you will get the rubric just as if we were deducting points, or just as if we were deducting full points, and it will be a little less deduction, or a lot less deduction, depending on it, than you might expect otherwise. Okay, just pay attention to it, because when you actually do get a chance, when we start doing this for real, it will count, and you will need to actually, if you don't have your functions commented, if you don't have a comment at the start of your program, if you don't have your code ordered correctly, imports, function defs, main body of the program, etc., we will deduct points. All right. Will the test be? We'll go over the test in just a second. All right. So let's. In fact, let's do that now. Let me go over to see how this is going to work. Okay, so here's our submittee screen, right? This is the exam folder, right? Exams, exam 1, right? Here's the stuff we've given you so far. Exam1.pdf, hopefully you've looked at it, but it is exactly the spring 2017 exam. I don't think we even changed the dates, right? So if we bring that up, this is just the exam we did in 2017. You can expect similar types of questions as was on this exam, but you'll notice that this exam is 8 questions long. We're only going to give you 4 questions. We're trying to handle all of the issues with being remote and problems, they need upload time, etc. So we are going to give you 4 questions. They should be slightly harder than the ones you get here. They shouldn't be grossly harder, and they will be, more in line with asking you to write code. So there's some one-liners in here, which are good things to study, and then there are some longer form questions that are good things to study. And we haven't written it yet, but in general, writing the code is going to be the important part. We do not grade on comments for your test. That's solely for homework. We know that you're often rushed writing your test. If you have comments, they won't count against you. Good style is always a good thing, because we have to be able to understand what you're trying to do. If you have everything written perfectly, style is less important. But if you don't have everything written perfectly, then our ability to comprehend what you were trying to put forth is going to influence us. And by the way, you should always be writing, to the best of your ability, code in the correct style. It really is something that every place you work for is going to insist on, whether or not you're a computer scientist, whether you're a physicist, etc. They all want your code in a style that's consistent with the style of the site, and that is clear and able to be understood. So get in the habit of doing that, and remember that we are people grading this, and if we have to make judgment calls, your style will help us figure out what it is you are actually trying to do. Let's see. I can kill that. we also have the T1 overview, and that's a lot more questions. I think we culled these out a little bit, so there's mainly questions dealing with, things that are like what you'll see on the exam. And, we're going to stick as closely to this as we can. So hopefully what I'm going to tell you today doesn't conflict with this. But, we will be doing this. Is there a question? Christian, you're typing at the top. I was wondering why there were no questions. Okay, we are going to, the TAs are responsible for grading. We will probably have submittee run your code, so they'll be able to see issues you have, but the grading will be all manual. There won't be any points assigned automatically. Yeah, we'll get to that. You don't need a password. We're going to give you an option to download ahead of time. If you download ahead of time, a password will allow you to open the file. So just give me a second to get to that. And yes, the points apply to each section of the homework. Everyone has their own rubric. Each rubric is the same. Did you do it right? Okay? All right. And again, some say TAs haven't given comments. That's because the grading's not done. It's all rubric items. If there are no rubric items, if you are graded by the TAs, and you have your 100% or whatever you have, and there are no comments, that means you did it fine, and you should expect to do the same thing next time. All right. So let me continue on with the next thing. This front part, though, is important. Make sure you read that before the test and make sure you understand it. We spent a lot of time going through this to try to make sure that it actually applies what we're going to be doing. We don't want you coming in completely lost. So read this stuff. Make sure you're doing it. Make sure you understand what we're going to do. And then, how did I get that in there? I thought I eliminated that. All right. That was a question between Professor Uzma and I. You can ignore that. And I'm not going to tell you the answer either. So there. All right, so that's the Exam 1 PDF and the T1 Overview.pdf, okay? When we run the exam, we're going to do something similar to this. We're going to have, well, let me just show you one more thing. The Spring 2017 Encrypted PDF. If you download this, what'll happen is this will open up and it will ask you for a password. Okay? I think I posted the password to the discussion forum. Quick edit. I don't know why that didn't take. That's supposed to be bolded. Oh, I know why. Okay, so that's not working. Give me just a second here to make this actually correct. Those underscores aren't supposed to be in there. They're supposed to be around. Those are supposed to highlight the file, not show up in the text. Let's try that. There we go. Okay, so So now I've downloaded the spring 2017 encrypted file. We try to bring it up. It asks me for a password. I told you that the password is practice. And if we look, you need the capitalization, right? So it has to be a capital P, R-A-C-T-I-C-E. When you do that, you can look at the practice exam from 2017. So here's what I want you to know about this. I want you to practice this so that you can do it. Hopefully about 24 hours or so, maybe 12 hours before your exam is going to go off, right? It's supposed to start at 6:55 p.m. if you're taking it on time. We're going to give you a 5-hour window in which to take it from 6:55 p.m. till 11:55 p.m. Eastern Time. About 12 hours before that, we will post well labeled, probably in this area, an encrypted version of the exam. The reason we're going to do that is in some of the previous exams, downloading the PDF has taken 10 minutes plus or minus, because everybody, all 700 and plus of you, will hit the server at the same time. If you download the encrypted one, you won't run into that issue. At 6:55, we will post the unencrypted version, and we'll also paste into the discussion forum the password to open the encrypted version. So there's no difference between the two. You know, the 2017 encrypted and the exam 1 are exactly the same file, except one's been encrypted, the other hasn't. And the idea is that if you download the encrypted version ahead of time, you can stave off any issues with your internet, any issues with all of your peers accessing the file at the same time, etc. If you have problems with that, or you have problems with the password, it will be available unencrypted starting at 6:55 p.m. We're going to go by the honor system as far as being timed. If you have regular time, you have 90 minutes. There's no way for us to tell you at the end of 90 minutes that it's time for you to turn in your test. So please adhere to the time limits. If you have 50% extra time, or you have 100% extra time because of accommodations, Cheyenne should have reached out to you. If she hasn't reached out to you, then we do not have you on our accommodations list. So please contact her as soon as possible and make sure that she knows you have accommodations, send her the list, etc. Okay? The submission window closes at 11:55 p.m. Okay, submissions past that time we will consider late, regardless of how much time you took. If you have problems, please email cs1instructors@cs.lists.rpi.edu. It is in the T1 overview. It will be in your exam at the top material. Email us and tell us what your problem is as explicitly as possible. You know, do this as soon as possible. If you lose internet, for example, you know, as soon as you get internet back, or if you can do it from your phone, please send us a notice. And we will, you know, we need to know ahead of time so that we don't penalize you. We need to know as quickly as possible so we don't penalize you. If you have issues submitting your exam on time and submittee goes red because you're late, submit it anyway and then email us. We can go in and see anything that's been submitted, whether it's been submitted on time or late, but it makes it a lot harder for us to give, you know, if you are 5 minutes late and you email us and say my internet went out, that's one thing. If you email us and say your internet went out and then you submit 2 days later, well, that's something completely different. Now you've had 2 extra days on the test. So whatever you do, submit as soon as you can, even if submittee is showing you as being late. And then if you are late, if you took more than the 90 minutes or your allotted time, please send us an email. We're not going to worry about a minute. We're not going to worry about 2 minutes. You shouldn't be 2 days late because of time zone. Submittee shows you time in your own time zone. Those are the times that you have to go by. And by the way, all of these questions are in the overview. You're asking questions about stuff that we've already told you, so please pay attention and please read it over. If you have any questions After this, I'm going to hold class on Thursday. It's not actually, it's not a class. You don't have to show up. I'll be answering questions and maybe giving you some pointers on the test. But if you show up and ask questions, we will try to get you answers. There's no automatic timer. Again, this is honor system. You have to time yourself. Okay? There's no automatic. Yeah, we can't set an automatic timer for everybody. Okay? So that's about it. That's what I have on this. That's fine. You will be submitting your homework or your sorry about that. You'll be submitting your test the same way you did your homework. You'll click on, question 1, you'll upload your file. You'll click on question 2, you'll upload your file. You'll click on question 3, you'll upload your file, etc. And then you'll just hit submit. And don't forget to hit submit. And the thing I wanted to show you was you're going to get something that looks like this. No auto grading. So you won't get any feedback as to what you did. You won't be able to download your files, but you can do multiple uploads. So for example, if I decided I wanted to go back and upload that thing again, or I'll just upload anything. Okay? Ooh, that wasn't good. Okay, so don't upload an MP4. I'm going to kill that. I don't want to do that. Okay, so all right, so I apologize. I meant to show that when we were doing it. It's just the same as you did with your homework. You'll go into the submittee queue, submittee gradable. Good. I'm actually in a practice session. You'll click on submit, and you will submit your question here. Okay? So it'll look just like a homework, except that you won't get any feedback down below. All right. All right.